right? We're starting this year off right?
Right.
Am I right?
If you mean by right, 1 minute late, then yes.
Oh, damn.
Well, I for one have to say I am excited about the third year.
Year 3, baby.
Of DTNS. Putting the 3 in D3NS.
Justin's
juniors.
Now I was like, wait, and Justin's less excited because he just got up and left.
No, now all the Frosh Tech podcasts are asking us to go get them beer.
Yeah, hanging out outside the podcast store.
Yeah, now it's a little weird when we show up to the dorms.
All right, let's do this then, shall we?
Yep.
Here we go.
In a world where technology changes faster than the human race can adapt, there's only one place to turn. The Daily Tech News Show with Tom Merritt and guests. But they need your help. Go to dailytechnewsshow.com to find out how.
This, in fact, is the Daily Tech News for Monday, January 4th, 2016. That'll be the last day that I don't mess that up because I was thinking about it. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me, Veronica Belmont is on assignment at CES for somebody who pays her more. But Justin Robert Young is here. How's it going?
How about D3NS?
Yes!
First year of Daily Tech News Show. I am honored to be here to kick it off. And as we begin every year, you can hear the blunderbuss sound as all the tech media converges on Las Vegas for CES.
Yeah, the Consumer Electronics Show is daunting, and someone braver than I always ventures into it every year. Our producer, Jenny Josephson, who is in Las Vegas right now. Jenny, what is the mood in Las Vegas?
The mood in Las Vegas is euphoric as Jenny Josephson has made it to her hotel in time for the show.
That's amazing. So you flew in and checked into your hotel in normal time?
Yeah, and got out on the internet and everything, and it's knockwood working. So far, I mean, the only thing that matters about CES is your internet working?
Yes, exactly. So we can report some of the most important things. Hotels are checking people in an orderly fashion, and the internet is at least working. We got more CES news coming, as well as some New Year's resolutions. Let's start off with the headlines. Oh, by the way, the PlayStation Network is down, but don't panic. By the time you hear this, if you're listening to the podcast later, it's probably going to be back up. ZDNet's Mary Jo Foley notes that Microsoft VP of Windows and Devices Youssef Mehdi posted that Windows 10 is now active on more than 200 million devices. Now, that number includes the Xbox, so that spins it a little bit. 40% of those devices were activated after Black Friday, with what they're calling 400% faster growth than a comparable period of time for Windows 8 adoption and 140% faster growth for Windows 7. That's comparing activations in Windows 10 terms, because you didn't buy it, to licenses sold for Windows 7 and Windows 8. So it's not exactly apples to apples. 76% of enterprise customers are trying Windows 10, with more than 22 million Windows 10 devices in use in enterprise and education customers. So even with all those caveats, Justin, it's still pretty impressive numbers, I think.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously you have the little Xbox kicker in there to make it seem a little bit more impressive. But really what these numbers are now, when they used to report this kind of adoption, it was to signal, hey, look at how much we've sold. Right, and even then it was a little bit fuzzy based on the group licenses that they could sell to enterprise. This is almost more of a developer's note, right? Look how many people are now on this version, so people should be developing for the latest version of Windows, which for something that has always been a fractured ecosystem, and PC users are often loath to upgrade to a new operating system, that is good news. And also shows that their hard work in putting a pop-up on your desktop every single time you boot up paying off for some people.
Well, and if you want to spin it in the negative sense, you could say these are inflated numbers and they're having to work too hard to get just a normal amount of upgrades, because normally every upgrade increases its pace over the previous one. If you're a Windows fan, though, you're going to point to these and say this is a great 400%, etc. I look at it, man, and I honestly, I'm not just saying this to be middle of the road. This seems to be perfectly normal. Like, it's not exceptional. But for the offbeat, you've got your XP, then you got your Vista, then you got your 7, then you got your 8. For the 10 beat, this seems to be exactly what I would have expected.
Sure. The only thing I will say is that we are assuming that, that there's a reasoning to the fact that there is one down year one, or not year, but like one down, one up of Windows operating systems. That adoption's been a major problem for them, and this was a huge change to make this a free upgrade as opposed to a paid license. So I think showing results there is very important for them.
And there'll be no more beats. It'll just be Windows 10 from now on.
Forever. Want to order an Oculus Rift, Tom?
Yes.
Starting Wednesday, January 6th at 11 a.m. Eastern, you can order one. How much? They won't say. When will you get it? You ain't going to find out yet. Pricing and ship dates will come when the pre-orders open, and Palmer Luckey will answer some questions in a Reddit AMA Wednesday at night at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Yes.
That's
when he'll do it. That's what the open parentheses is. It's also the 9 key.
It's also, I didn't look down. Hey, wow, that was
causing cool. My typing causing Justin's.
If you're going to read the tea leaves on this one, Tom, what do you think this bodes that they did not make their announcement to also say the price and ship date?
I don't know. I really don't know. I feel like it's just going to be a really big price, maybe, and so they've said that. They've said, look, this is going to be an early adopter thing. This is going to be for hardcore gamers. The price is not going to be there for everybody. Most people's computers aren't even going to run this thing. You're going to need to have a pretty hefty machine to make good use of it. So I think they're just trying to manage expectations, to say, look, we don't want 3 days of people debating the price. Let's just get the pre-orders going at the same time as the price, so that you either order it or you don't.
It still seems weird.
It is a little weird. Well, it's an announcement of an announcement, right?
What they want to avoid is 3 days of think pieces that say, is $1,500 too much for an Oculus Rift?
So why announce that it's coming? Why not just launch it on Wednesday and say, hey, guess what? Pre-orders. Boom.
Because you're right. They're just delaying the think pieces by what? 2 days, as opposed to just releasing it. It is kind of weird. Maybe there's other elements to this. Like, now it's in the hands of some journalists, or it's in the hands of some people where it would be reported, and so they just wanted to make sure that the pre-order date is the big news item.
Now, you're right. There's 2 days of CES news coming where people will be writing about, without any release date from Oculus. Now they can be like, look, we got a pre-order date. So when you write your VR think piece the next 2 days, you can say we're going to have pre-orders starting Wednesday.
Real quick, what's your guess? What's your guess on the price?
$1,200.
Yeah, I'm going to say.
Here, 1201, 1202.
What are you going to say?
I think 15.
15. With Jenny, you going to come down the middle?
All I want right now, I'm not going to buy it, obviously. I want to get one on my face at CES. This is a goal.
And then sneak out with it.
I know.
They'll never know. They'll never be able to tell you.
All I want to do is experience the magic, or the mystery, or the disappointment that is Oculus firsthand.
Lenovo unleashed a wave of new X1 models for CES 2016. According to Ars Technica, the $1,299 ThinkPad X1, that's $1,299, is X1 Carbon, is a laptop that weighs just 2.6 pounds, features up to 16 gigs of RAM, terabyte of NVMe solid-state storage, Skylake processor, 52-watt battery, and an optional Y-Gig wireless docking station. There's also a $1,449 X1 Yoga, comes with the same RAM, storage, processor, and docking options as the X1. X1 Plus, as the X1 Carbon, plus an OLED touchscreen and active stylus. It weighs 2.8 pounds. The $899 ThinkPad X1 tablet is an X1 Carbon, but in a 12-inch form factor. There's also a $1,029 ThinkCenter X1 all-in-one desktop PC, a $799 27-inch IPS ThinkVision X1, 3840 by 2160 monitor with USB-C ports. That's the reversible USB. X1 Yoga ships this month. X1 Carbon and the tablet ship in February, and the ThinkCenter and ThinkVision X1 ship in March.
Get it? Got it? Good. Habichuelacondulce posted the story that Mark Zuckerberg announced on Facebook his personal challenge for 2016 is to, quote, build a simple AI to run my home and help me with work. He compared it to Jarvis in Iron Man. He wants to teach it to let his friends in the house by facial recognition, let him know if he needs to check on his daughter. Previously, Zuckerberg has challenged himself to read 2 books a month, learn Mandarin, and meet a new person every day. These are only his New Year's resolutions. He's also resolved a couple other things, but we will talk more about that in our discussion.
Wi-Fi Alliance has approved IEEE 802.11ah under the catchy name of Wi-Fi Halo, spelled Halow, to avoid a lawsuit from Microsoft. It will supposedly double the distance and cut the power consumption compared to current Wi-Fi, operate in the 900 megahertz band, which penetrates walls better, but also conflicts with your microwave probably. It's a little slower, too. It's between 150 kilobits per second and 18 megabits per second, but the Alliance hopes it could help replace cellular for cities that do smart city communication, or maybe replace Bluetooth for wearables. So allow your wearables and your Internet of Things devices to communicate over Wi-Fi over the same router that's doing the 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz system. So it's all in one. Anyway, devices should appear later this year, with the standard becoming official in 2018, they expect. Thanks to TM204 for submitting the story to the subreddit.
Considering how much we have connected on a daily basis, like it's starting to get to the point where I forget and could not name how many things that are connected either to my Wi-Fi or through another device. Anything that keeps those more regularly communicating and avoids failures would be greatly, greatly appreciated.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if you can get the device makers on board with this. A lot of people are questioning how good the power management, the power consumption could be. The distance, I mean, you do 900 megahertz, you should get the distance. That's not going to be a problem. But they haven't given solid numbers on what the power consumption be, other than saying cutting it by an unspecified amount. So there's some speculation that it might not be as good as it needs to be to get taken up by the device makers.
Well, let's see whether or not it's above or below the price of an Oculus Rift.
Below. I'm pretty sure about that, yeah.
Acer announced 2 Chrome devices at CES, a rugged $180 Chromebook laptop with an 11.6-inch screen, Celeron processor, SD card reader, and 4 gigabytes of RAM with 32 gigabytes of storage, and the Chrome Base, a 24-inch all-in-one PC with webcam and up to 4 gigs of RAM. No ship or price dates yet.
Yeah, Chrome. It's a thing. It's a real thing. And machines that could run Windows are being announced that run Chrome. So welcome to the real race, Chrome. I mean, it's been there for a while. A lot of people trying Chrome, using Chrome, liking Chrome. So it's kind of cool to see Acer announce new devices that are just, here's our new Chrome devices, not, ooh, look, we have Chrome devices now.
Yeah, look. Ooh, like they have Chrome in italics because it's so special.
We're doing this weird thing. tgstellar wanted us to mention that Toyota, QNX Software Systems, and UI Evolution will all adopt Ford's open source smart device link system for connecting mobile apps with your car interface. PSA Peugeot, Citroën, Honda, Subaru, and Mazda are all considering adopting it too. The platform allows drivers to interact with apps with dashboard buttons, displays, and voice. Apps like Spotify, iHeartRadio, just recently announced Concur, and a bunch of others already make use of AppLink. At the same time, Ford announced it will support Apple CarPlay and Android Auto in its Sync 3 platform. 2016 model cars will get it as an upgrade, and it will come installed on 2017 models. Meanwhile, GM invested $500 million in Lyft, the ride-sharing system, towards developing a system of self-driving cars, or at least that's part of the reason they were part of that round of funding. Everybody's talking about cars at CES. We're going to have Tim Stevens on the show tomorrow to tell us a little bit more about that. But Justin, I really love this because anybody who's used Ford Sync knows how the app system works, and it was a little clunky in the beginning, but the idea is it doesn't matter what phone you have, and under this system, it might not matter what car you have. You just get in and use an app that has been developed to use the open source AppLink system, and it should work.
You have no idea how much this is indeed a good idea. Having been a business traveler for the past 4 years, I have used each and every automaker's own proprietary system to either link your phone or download apps that can make your driving experience richer. This immediately, almost within a year of my 4-year process, led me to never using any of the devices or any of the systems, the UIs that were used in these cars. They are almost universally awful. The best elements of it are being able to connect your phone so you can get connectivity, so you can get the wireless bandwidth, and then having an app profile or platform that you could theoretically just walk in and have automatically pop into the car. That really starts to make these things sing. I'm very, very happy to see that a lot of these manufacturers are saying, hey, look, it only costs us money to create an inferior UI. We might as well just get one that works. Whoever we need to pay to make that happen, let's just do it. Because once you have people making those decisions, then you can actually start moving this technology forward, as opposed to just trying to make a thing that's not like the other things, so you're not getting sued by the other people making things.
Yeah, Ford is doing it right in this case by saying, sure, Toyota, you want to use it? Great. It's open source. Let's make it happen. We'll all benefit from it. It's a car maker, right? A very old-fashioned business taking the benefits of open source and at the same time saying, Apple, CarPlay, Android, you guys want in? Yeah, sure, we'll support you too. Why not? Because what we care about is the driver. It's driver-oriented design, and I love that.
Well, what do you make of the GM Lyft thing, real quick?
That's an interesting play. I think we're starting to see the future where your ride-sharing service, like some rental car services, will be brand associated. I like Lyft because it has GM cars, whereas Uber might have Audis or something. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
It seems like they're just kind of spreading money around and seeing whether or not this scratch-off lottery ticket pays off for them. I can't imagine where Lyft to qualify something on cars. Since you are a for hire business, theoretically, you're just looking for people who have extra time, unless the idea is maybe, hey, GM's got a bunch of fleet vehicles that may or may not get used. Here's a way that we can push them to people who want to drive for Lyft for either a rental or sale fee situation. Maybe that's an interesting play, but it's curious that they want to get in on this.
Well, I think what Uber does is everything itself. They come into a market and they just do everything themselves. They want to do self-driving cars. They hire people away from Carnegie Mellon and they start a research center. What Lyft does is, hey, let's partner with ride-sharing services in China so we can code share and have bigger coverage without having to do everything ourselves. And this is an example of that. Hey, General Motors is researching self-driving cars. Rather than spend a bunch of money replicating that effort, let's team up.
I mean, also, this is an explosive industry right now. Controversial, legally challenging, but right now everybody wants to get in on the gigantic growth of this, easily the poster boy of the gig economy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Intel announced that it has purchased German-based UAV maker Ascending Technologies. All 75 employees will be asked to join Intel. Ascending Technologies has integrated Intel's RealSense image and depth recognition technology into its own Sense and Avoid features.
Just continuing to see Intel diversify under Brian Kazanich's leadership, and another smart get for them, something that uses the kind of technology that Intel already makes, and now it's going to be part of the Intel fold. That will be another bet. None of these things on their own are going to save Intel, but if you have enough of them will succeed, that Intel will have a way forward no matter what happens to the chip market.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense.
Engadget reports AMD is showing off early looks at its energy-efficient graphics architecture called Polaris. A future chipset claims to be 61% more energy efficient than a GeForce GTX 950 with similar performance. Polaris uses 14-nanometer FinFET design as well as improved memory use and a bunch of other under-the-hood changes. Supports HDMI 2.0A and HEVC video for 4K. The first Polaris-based graphic chips are expected in Q3 around the same time as NVIDIA will come out with their own energy-efficient Pascal graphics architecture.
CNET reports Activision Blizzard has paid $46 million to acquire Major League Gaming, essentially paying off its debts. Activision Blizzard formed a new esports unit back in October. Very interesting where esports are going. I don't know if it's going to be 2016, but in a continually fractured media market where you're seeing more and more moving to online subscriptions and networks almost focusing, treating online subscriptions as more of a serious revenue model, you gotta wonder where esports rank in this new pay for what you want to watch world that we are facing increasingly.
Yeah, no, this is a good play for Activision Blizzard if they want to build up esports because they rather cheaply, to the Major League Gaming stockholders' chagrin, get to pick up some expertise in technology. Major League Gaming was in trouble. They were having very, very bad debt problems. So this resolves that better than going bankrupt, one would think. And it does move esports, as you say, into a game maker driven situation for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
TechCrunch reports BlackBerry says it has reached an agreement with Pakistan to continue offering BlackBerry enterprise service in that country. BlackBerry said it would shut down operations in response to a government demand for access to BES data, not BIS or BBM, which they have agreed to share with some other countries. We reported on this earlier that they would just withdraw from Pakistan, and as a lot of people expected, when the ultimatums were delivered, everyone decided to figure out a way to work together. And that, my friends, is a look at the headlines. Don't forget to submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Okay, we're going to talk about Zuckerberg real quick, but CES coming up. And Justin and I were talking about this earlier before the show. It's interesting how my perspective over CES has changed over the years as I've stopped attending, because I found myself just sitting in a corner at CES reading about all the things that I couldn't possibly cover on my own. And so I just try to stay back and get the bird's eye view of things. Whereas there is value to being there if you're not trying to cover everything and saying, okay, let me take a closer look at this and that and get your hands on it. And Jenny, that's one of the awesome things that you are doing, and getting other people who are there to lend us that perspective. But how much news actually gets covered? I mean, how much is worth covering? I actually pulled back a little bit today from some of the things. We didn't cover all the smart fridges. We didn't cover the LG rollable display because other companies have done rollable displays before, and that's just very headline grabbing things, but they're not shipping anything. There's not a product that's going to use it yet. So it's an interesting event because it's gargantuan and it's huge, but it generates a lot more light than heat sometimes.
So just as someone who just arrived, let me read to you CES's or one of the takeaways of what you can expect from CES 2016, and tell me how different it is from what you could have expected at CES 2015, which is cars of the future, virtual reality, rise of the drones, streaming, smart home, transportation, which is like the little scooters that maybe we'll see one or two blow up while we're here, and the Internet of Healthy Things. Now, so mind just reading, that was Mashable's list, by the way. My mind went a little bit la 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 la. But every year I come here, I see one thing that blows my mind. One thing. And if I could see that one thing this time or wear it on my face, I will be happy. And that's all it takes for me to keep coming back here every year. Not to mention, like, you never know who you're going to see at any given moment, and that's a lot of fun. But I'm just looking for that one wow moment. And maybe it'll be a smart fridge. You never know.
And there have been those wow moments. There was Slingbox way back in the day, was something that everyone was blown away by. We joke about WebOS, but when Palm came with WebOS, its language has been used now in every smartphone interface. It's just that Palm was unable to capitalize on it, but that was something new and that was something interesting. So you do see these big things.
Well, and it's very much reminiscent to me, and I'm sure we're going to have very similar discussions when South by Southwest comes around, where, yes, it has a legacy. Probably South by Southwest Interactive's maybe a little fresher than CES is in terms of the new thing kind of happening or feeling like that this is the moment of supernova, that all of a sudden it goes from something that is whispered about to something that everybody knows. However, I have, as somebody who has worked both on the inside of tech news gathering as well as an avid consumer of it, I have what I like to call the fridge decks. Mm-hmm. That is, the more I'm reading about fridges, the less CES was actually worthwhile. Because there's always really cool things you can do with fridges. And boy, only next to smartphones and televisions do people like to write up amazing features lists for devices like they do for fridges. Make sure that everything is beamed to your smartphone. And also we can connect with your lights so they'll flash green when your produce is in need of another crisping. This is always gigantically hit or miss, and I just don't know what, in a world where there are so many different ways to get the word out on a product, how important what seems almost archaic, this like carnival barker, like, no, come to the fair, we'll show you the future, a physical showroom element that CES is. It just, I think that there's always going to be something cool because it's a self-perpetual motion machine. There's always been stuff cool. There will always be something that, like Jenny said, at least the one thing that's going to shock your head off your shoulders. But is it the gigantic hype monster that draws all of our friends in the tech media out of their hovels and into the casino floors? I don't think so.
Yeah, it's something we will try to cover. At least this year, we'll try to cover for things that are newsworthy, things that if they were announced on any other day, we would cover. And I'm going to try to avoid the things that are just like, well, maybe someday, maybe that'll be interesting. But you let me know. Let me know what you think of our coverage this year and what kind of things you want out of that coverage. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. Mark Zuckerberg, personal challenge for 2016. We told you a few of his previous ones in the headlines. And as we said, this year, he wants to build a simple AI to, quote, run my home and help me with my work. You can think of it kind of like Jarvis in Iron Man. His words. As we mentioned, he wants to teach it to let his friends in by just looking at their face, let him know what's going on in his baby's room, help him visualize data in VR for work. He said this should be a fun intellectual change to code this for myself. I'm looking forward to sharing what I learned over the course of the year. So the obvious thing to have fun with is like, oh my gosh, Mark Zuckerberg's going to create an AI just like an Ex Machina, and it's going to take over the world. But I think this is really cool because it shows somebody trying to stay in touch with who he used to be. Before he had to run Facebook as a big public CEO, he was a guy who just liked to mess around with code and see what he could make it do. And this is one of the coolest things to try to code for right now.
We mentioned before some of his other personal goals, one of which was to learn Mandarin because he wanted Facebook to be able to expand into China. You need to have a presence and show respect and deference in that market. He wanted to take the time and publicly say, this was what I will hold up as a goal. Those are CEO goals, right? And I think what's exciting about this is that this is a hacker goal because you have to figure, if he's literally going to do this, and apparently he's going to post details on what he does and how he's doing it, this very much seems a lot more realistic than you might think if even you're just hacking an Amazon Echo. Amazon Echo, for people who don't necessarily have the brilliant coding mind or resources of a Mark Zuckerberg, can do about 80% of the boring stuff that he listed. And, it's going to take a little bit more to do things like, facial recognition on, cameras and everything. But it seems like you're just, a few, hundred IFFT recipes away from doing a lot of this kind of stuff with fairly available technology, which is really rad.
And Jenny, he could probably learn some things coding this together that he can then give to his team to apply to Facebook.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that fascinated me was this very, very long article that I sent you, and now I can't remember where it was from, talking about it was like a 3-pager talking about Facebook's algorithm for the news feed and how. And there's a couple articles that come out like this every year, but this one really struck me.
I'm sorry, Slate.
It was Slate.
I knew it had an S.
Yeah, it was one of those pretty Web 2.0 guys. But what I really loved about it was the idea that somehow these two ideas could eventually merge, in that they were saying that really it's very, very hard for humans to get algorithms right for such a mass scale of people at Facebook. So maybe you'll just invent an AI that will personalize to you, and you have your own Facebook AI to go with your Facebook VR experience. Like, you can see how this ecosystem continues to grow and get more sophisticated, whether we like it or not.
Well, and it's like advertising to me. If it's done right, we like it. If it's intrusive or it doesn't work, we don't. And the problem with AI right now, for all of our joking around, is not that it's in danger of getting too smart. It's that it puts really crappy things in your news feed, or it doesn't work, or it predicts the wrong thing and puts the wrong calendar appointment out. And so, seeing the CEO hacking away to make his house work, I think is probably something he could contribute some code back to the company and hopefully improve things.
Your baby is crying, Zuck.
Let's tie two big stories together. Let's say Mark Zuckerberg looks at this and takes a bunch of equipment and says, oh man, you want to know what? This is actually fairly feasible, and where we are right now with how much these microphones cost, these omnidirectional, really good microphones cost, we can put our own code into it. We can partner with a few people who are doing a lot of these things. What do you say we put together a physical product, considering another Facebook-owned company in Oculus Rift is about to put a physical product out? Could this be a dawning of Facebook as a physical product company in the likes of which they've never really been before?
I think you're onto something. My guess would be that the way Facebook has approached these sorts of problems to date has been to acquire a company. Mm-hmm. So maybe what we see is Facebook acquire one or several companies to bundle together into, whether they call it Facebook or not, some kind of home-related product company that, of course, you can log in with Facebook, and it will use all of its knowledge about you from Facebook to customize your home if you like, although you don't have to do that. But that could be one benefit of that. It's an intriguing idea.
Look at what he said. Recognize my friends based on their facial recognition and unlock my door. What does Facebook have in spades? Facial recognition that is very good. I think we can all agree that when you upload something to Facebook and it says, we think we recognize 4 people, it's usually pretty impressive. That's already there. You can take a lot of this information and flow it right in there, and I think that's what he's thinking of when he mentions what he wants to do with this. Now, whether or not it becomes a physical product or he just gets frustrated trying to do this in his off hours like putting together IKEA furniture remains to be seen.
All I know is that I also made a resolution for 2016, and it was to never leave dishes in the sink overnight. So I feel terrible.
Listen, frankly, yours is achievable. I'm not sure whether Mark Zuckerberg is or not. So,
all I know is that we got ourselves a little desktop dishwasher, a little Christmas present to ourselves. Oh man, life-changing.
Yeah, so. Very good. All right, our pick of the day, first pick of the year. With so many people attending one of the largest conferences on the planet, I figured Rowski's pick was probably one of the best. It's the Easy Ack Monster 20,000 milliamp hour power bank. that Rowski says not only provides a massive amount of capacity through 4 USB ports, but can charge quickly through 2 micro USB cables. And right now on Amazon, and I checked, it's still the same price. He says it's $36. So we'll have a link to that in the show notes as well. But man, a portable battery for charging is a must-have at a conference.
I had, as if a soldier coming back from wartime. I just read this and I almost bought it immediately, just assuming that I was still on the road as much as I was. I already have 3 portable batteries, but you can always use more. This is great, and who knows how much of this is marketing, but the list price is $130. So if you are in the market for something, they don't usually come this cheap. I would highly recommend it.
Send your picks to us, folks. We don't take money for them. You just send them to us, and we pass them along. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. You can find more picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. Marlon from Trinidad really enjoyed our predictions episode, but he is an Android follower, and he always feels like we give Android a little short shrift. So he gave us some Android predictions for 2016. Security updates will be the big differentiator for Android handsets in 2016. We've reached the point of good enough in the Android smartphone world, and the monthly security updates that have been going out to the Nexus phones have been regular enough that I think the OEMs have to commit to it. Connected to this is that Blackberry will benefit the most. They released in January update to the Priv today. He says, I predict we'll see a resurgence this year and release another Android phone from Blackberry that will be even more successful than the Priv. He says, we will finally see the uniting of Chrome OS and Android, most likely at Google I/O, and the first device to get it will be the Pixel C. Not sure I'm with you on that one, but okay. And the HTC Vive will give HTC some breathing room to continue living for one more year, as investors will be excited by the prospects and reception of the device. They will also release a well-reviewed phone. Security updates will be a feature, see number 1, that will do better than last year's model, which he's says honestly isn't really that hard. And then he says, I hope DTNS will have a semi-regular correspondent who will focus a bit more on Android. He will be will be on next year's prediction show.
I think that's a fair point.
I cover Android as much as I possibly can. I use an Android tablet, but if you're living in the Android world and you hear all these people talking about iOS, it's irrelevant to you. I get it.
I keep waiting for that device that's going to make me go back to Android and really dive in again. I haven't quite found it yet, but I hear you, Marlon. I hear you. It might be me.
And also, I guess maybe we just talked so much about iOS that I don't remember that there were any iOS specific predictions. But yeah, I think right now, the weird spot that we find ourselves with all mobile operating systems, including Android, is that they're fairly mature. There's not quite that same kind of big, gigantic, exciting elements. We've had so many updates. We've had so many different new versions of it that the shine is off the apple, I think, in general for mobile operating systems.
Off the apple, you say? See, once again.
See, iOS bias.
You busted me.
It's not off the little robot, is it? No, I think you're right. Most of our predictions were about VR, but still. It's good to have. I like this prediction about the security updates becoming a selling feature, though. I think that's pretty insightful. And
by the
Ruben,
way, sorry, real quick, because this is the most important email that we've ever gotten to this show coming up next. I want to point to Jenny. The HTC Vive. Remember that. Wear that. Yes. Get that demo. That's apparently the melt your face off amazing demo.
Melt your melon.
All right, I'm writing it down on the list.
Yeah.
Yes, this is the most important email Justin will get all year. Ruben in Monterrey, Mexico, among many people in various forms, not just email, who pointed out that they listened to the predictions results show over the break and heard us talking about how Justin thought he had predicted a Spider-Man movie with the crossover to the Avengers. And Ruben says, I want to point out that I perfectly remember when Justin did his Spider-Man prediction last year, even though it's not a tech prediction. We even had somebody on YouTube do a link to the portion of last year's episode that had that prediction. So yes, Justin, you were not crazy. You did predict the Spider-Man crossover.
I feel like that is something that deserves recognition, and I thank you all the loyal DTNS listeners who remembered me making that prediction, even despite the powers that be trying to gaslight me into believing that I had not correctly predicted that Spider-Man would be freed from Sony.
Well, that is it for day one CES coverage, 2 days before the show begins, which is always the way it goes. Jenny, good luck.
Thank you. My feet hurt already.
you pre-hurt your feet.
I did. But I did want to say, if anyone wants me to go look at something or thinks there's something I should look at, the fastest way is to tweet me at JennieJ, JennieJ23 on Twitter, because that's the one I'm on. But you can also tweet Daily Tech News Show, Daily Tech News Show, and let us know what you think what will really knock my socks off. I really want my socks knocked off this year. Yeah.
She is wearing perfectly adequate socks. They're not loose. They're not tight.
REI wool socks.
Yeah,
really
they're
sturdy,
standard.
And I would like them to go sailing across the room in glee at something I see at CES.
Justin Robert Young, my friend, thank you so much for being here and kicking off the new year right. I played the Contender on holiday break with a bunch of people, and it was fun.
Oh,
blast.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, everybody can go pick it up, thecontender.us. Listen, folks, over 100 people have reviewed this on Amazon, and it remains at a 5-star rating. They all can't be wrong. Go ahead and pick it up, either at thecontender.us or on Amazon. It's the game I'm already calling the best tabletop game of 2016.
Now, as we go into 2016, folks, our big goal is to get Day 6, International Edition of Daily Tech News Show on Sundays with Peter Wells. So if you've been thinking about supporting the show, or you've been wanting to support the show, if you get value out of the show and you're not giving that amount of value back, you can rectify that situation at dailytechnewsshow.com/support. Big thanks to every single person who makes the show possible. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. You can give us a call, 512-59-DAILY. It's 593-2459. Catch the show live Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. Visit our website, dailytechnewsshow.com. Back tomorrow with Tim Stevens from CES and Patrick Beja. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Blenders. We forgot to talk about smart blenders.
Oh, will it blend? Not on this show.
I've already seen Smart Bra. Bra. Yep, Smart Bra was tweeted today.
I saw the link to that. Yeah.
Yep. I'm waiting to see what the most outrageous smart thing is this year, because I feel like I maxed out on that last year, wandering around like the back halls of the Sands, which is where they keep like all the extra stuff that they can't fit in the LVCC, and maybe my goal this year will be to find the saddest corner of CES and do a nice big feature on whoever's there. Where's the saddest,
the darkest,
little corner?
Saddest corner of the Consumer Electronics Show?
Shine a little the DTNS light on them and see what happens. Because really, like, look, you can't do comprehensive coverage. By the way, let me know when you want a title. But there are very few.
No, we need a title. You're right.
Yeah.
I almost forgot. How's this work?
Yeah, I know. What is this, Jeff? You have Sorry I Can't Do That, Zuck, which is solid.
That's
and
good.
D3NS, which is a little self-referential, but I like it as a logo. And the only one I thought of was... Well, there's Fridge Decks, which I kind of really like. Yeah. I like Fridge Deck.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead and continue your thought. I'll pick one of these.
So I guess my thought is like, okay, look, we're a 2-person, 3-person, or 7-person show, depending on how you count, right? And only one of us is going to CES this year. And my feeling of it is like, if you can't... because frankly the entire internet does that for you, and then we try to cover what really makes news. My question always is, what can one person do that is not about smart fridges, and that is not about, oh, there's so many people here, and oh, the security is going to be really tight this year, and all this stuff? Like, what is the piece you can do that really is like lovely and interesting and audio centric? So that's my challenge. That's my personal challenge to myself. I'll take any suggestions you all might have if you see them. Just
I like
send them along.
the uncovered CES because there's so much that gets covered. There's always something in the corner. Like I remember one of the early CESs I went to and discovering that Royal Typewriters had a booth.
And
Now,
it's gorgeous.
And they were at that time still selling electric typewriters. I don't know if they still feature that, but there was a whole bank of electric typewriters, and they also had PDAs, which tells you about how long ago this was, and other digital devices like label printers and stuff like that. But they were getting no love. Like they were getting their trade people coming in, obviously, but they were getting no coverage by anybody for anything.
Yeah, I think that's what I want. I don't want the hippest thing and the newest thing because I personally am not CNET, and they do an excellent job, and so do many
CNET,
other publications.
Yeah, when I was there, and I know it hasn't changed. Has like 40 to 50 people. Just out on the floor at any given time.
Yeah, I feel like maybe it's not right for this show, but I would like to cover this year. My theme will be the sadness of CES. CES sad.
Maybe you could make a positive spin and do like cheering up CES.
Yeah, what if my goal was just to go around and make people smile at the sad booths and the booths where
I love that. I think that's fantastic.
To just have a chat like a human and have them tell me something interesting.
So this is not so much, like this is activist journalism, right? Except like
it is.
Absolutely.
Your element is just to cheer people who are otherwise depressed up.
Yeah. Like the people whose shipment didn't arrive, or they're missing a box, or like something. Like I just want to go say, hey, you're doing okay. You're here. It's okay.
Well, or you can just find the people with completely trashed displays and let them know. Next time, let the union guy move your box, and maybe somebody in the middle of it will destroy your set.
You should do a video. In the empty spaces. There's always a booth that's empty that somebody didn't show up for, and then just imagine what would have been there, and
supposed to be based on the
you could do a man on the street where you ask people what booth do you think this would have been.
Actually, you should do a whole video bit. What I should do is find an empty booth and do a whole video bit about the newest, hottest stealth technology, and and it's right here, and it's amazing. But all of a sudden, I'm not trying to be Billy on the street. But
this booth looks empty.
That because it's so impossible to grip. It's just too much.
Yeah. No, it's true. And in the past, my big revelation a few years ago was not going to CES because as I said in the show, I realized that I was just sitting there covering it the way I would cover it at home anyway, because I couldn't cover anything in person. And it was kind of nice in the evenings to go to the press conferences and say, oh yeah, I got to pick that up. But it just wasn't worth the hassle when so many other people are doing it. Yeah. And that's what Jenny's providing, is that I got to pick it up aspect. I got to try on the Oculus, hopefully, something like that.
Hopefully, this is the year.
But now my realization after not going several years is how much of this is covered because people feel like they need to justify all the trouble they went to go to CES.
Yeah, that's the thing, and that's really what I like. You gotta cover something, right? Because otherwise, why is the CNET, Business Insider, Vox Media, expense account putting this cost on there? It just seems odd. It just seems like all of these companies that are going to spend a ton of money to get you to pay attention to something also then spend a ton of money launching other products by themselves and probably get more of the news cycle for doing it. So you even have to wonder how much, if you are a Samsung, if you are an LG, how much do you really want to put out your big flagship stuff when it's just going to be in this gang handshake of all these other tech announcements?
Yeah, it's interesting. That's why Microsoft pulled out. They pulled out of CES. Because they were like, we can get more bang for our buck outside of CES when we're not competing with everybody else.
I mean, Apple did that with Macworld.
Yeah.
A conference dedicated to them.
Apple never went to CES.
Apple never went to CES, and when faced with, okay, do we want to announce everything on our own time where we can bump it back internally a week and it's not going to be a big thing, or have us pegged into one element, one timestamp, in a conference dedicated to how great we are and how much everyone loves us, they're like, yeah, no, we'll just do it ourselves.
Yeah.
You know?
And so I think it makes sense for the smaller companies, or maybe even in some sense the overseas companies like an LG, to say, well, let's do this because it's harder for us to get coverage otherwise.
Yeah, which is why I think VR is an exciting thing for CES this year, because you're finally starting to see these companies sort of become retail companies as opposed to just sort of tech demos, whereas CES loves a good tech demo.
Yeah.
We love to cover things that people might actually buy, and Oculus becoming a retail product in the next few days, HTC Vive, which is apparently, again, the VR demo, looking to be released. PlayStation VR is going to be a thing this year. Now you're like, okay, this is a fringe element with major money behind it that wants press, and you're going to have a lot of thirsty-ass press people looking for something to cover.
And it's not, and as I always try to point out every year, CES isn't just for press coverage. It's also the original purpose and the continuing purpose is to strike deals with retailers and suppliers and wholesalers. And so there's companies that go and they don't care about whether they get press coverage. They're there to kind of sign up their inventory deals for the coming year.
Yeah. No, I mean, and in that, it doesn't have to be sexy, right? Like, you know, if you are just looking to move the fridges and you want to find how many fridges Best Buy is going to move this year, and you know, and in all these other big box retailers or everywhere else, you know, this is just a good way to do that. It is a trade show, after all. But you know, as far as I think Jenny is going to do great work out there, and aside from that, I don't know exactly how much DTNS needs to cover it beyond the fact that there are going to be cool announcements and you'll cover them like every other cool announcement that's ever come out.
Well, I'm curious if anybody's even going to notice what I did on today's show, which is I covered about 4 or 5 fewer stories than I would have the past couple of years.
Yeah.
Like Asus had an announcement, and I was like, Asus had a phone announcement. So I was like, you know, we're just not going to put it in there and see if anyone really, you know, do people say, hold on, you didn't seem to have as comprehensive coverage. Or the fridge. I mean, and the rollable screen was the one that started me thinking, like, well, wait a minute, I've covered this from Samsung, I've covered it from other, I think Sony, like, this isn't anything to cover yet. Rollable screens is something to cover when they're like, here's a product that will ship in Q2.
It is about as much of a story to me as the Faraday Motors Batmobile you know, sketch that they put out today, where it's like, yeah, let's just see, you know, because that's the other thing is you know, to you know, at the risk of you know, furthering my Apple fanboy reputation, like, you know, there is an art to getting things out onto the market. You know, there is an art to getting things at the price that you need to make a profit on it and to have it be successful. And it doesn't cost you anything to create a demo version. You know, vaporware is vaporware for a reason. And you know, until it's got, you know, like you have a practical application for a rolling screen, then, you know, what the hell are we doing?
I want a rolling screen, but why I wanted one for a long time, because it would just make things so much more convenient, especially if it was a touchscreen. You can have rollable components in it too. I mean, that's the thing. Like, rolly screen is one thing, but you're still going to have some flat base for it to get the rolly components.
Yeah, I mean, and now listen, we are trying very, very hard in our apartment in Oakland to live the small footprint lifestyle. You know, and anything, if we could have a television that was just sort of like, you know, had a smaller footprint and wasn't always just this big flat brick in the center of our apartment, that'd be great. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, Well, a small footprint was 2015's hot trend, Justin. Roll-up footprint is 2016's hot trend.
Gotcha. And next year, the zippable television.
I'm trying to live the roll-up lifestyle. Everything I own can roll up.
Open. Yeah, I mean, Jenny also pointed out the random celebrity factor is definitely, you know.
I mean, I did dance within a few feet of Bill Gates one year.
So that's cool.
That was a Comdex, but still. Like, so I'll always have that.
We'll always have Vegas, Bill.
Bill doesn't know, but I do.
Yeah.
The 3 security guards surrounding him while he was dancing also probably.
Oh, man. I wonder where Jenny went.
I didn't see when she dropped.
The
So I was
allure
busy.
of the fridges, we're calling.
It was too much for her. Did she say anything in Slack? No? Oh, I wonder if her internet just took a... Oh, I got kicked out the Hangout the second Molly Wood walked in the door.
Oh, what a bee.
Magnetic field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, I was looking for podcasts in the great podcast blackout of the holidays. I was at the Mercy and decided I realized that I hadn't subscribed to Marketplace, so I subscribed to Marketplace. Turn it on, and look who's guesting for Kai Rizdal, none other than the lovely
But
Molly Wood. I was very excited.
Sweet. I got one of those comments just now on the Daily Tech News Show blog where I couldn't quite tell if it was spam or not. That's how good the spammers are getting.
Oh, really?
But it doesn't link to anything. But it was like, it's an AOL address.
What does it say?
I wholeheartedly agree with the rankings. Amazon's story will always be my favorite. So funny. It's a response to the Weekly Tech Views post from Saturday. And it was fun to reread the other top stories, especially when you can personally relate to them. Good job.
Too positive. Can't be a real person.
You know what I'll do? Well, but see, the keyword search could do that. Yeah, I don't know. To approve or not to approve. Because what they do is they try to get an approved post so that their post will automatically be approved in the future. That's what the spammers try to do. Well,
all right.
Susie, if you hear this, send me an email.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, Susie. Yeah, well, I'm out of here too. So
Adios.
thanks, everybody. Goodbye.